Hey everyone, it is Miri Carbundance. Welcome back. I have another topic video for you guys. I hope it's not too sunny here, but I'm just enjoying the warm sun that I have here in the new room that we have. If you've watched our live stream from Monday, we went into why we have a new room now as well, because we've been living in one room, David and I, of our flat for several years. I can also make another video on that if you guys are interested. Just as always, let me know. So I have a comment from Mareike from my German channel, and she asks, I'm instantly translating now. Did you track calories when you started recovery? Oh, no, when you were gaining weight, that's what she asked. I am quite in between. She says somehow I need to track so that I know that I will get in enough calories. And then she says experiments showed that I don't eat enough when I don't track. But that's also very fear-based, because I just don't dare to eat enough and don't have she doesn't dare to eat without tracking because she doesn't have enough hunger yet or no appetite. And she says, but when I track, then keyword chronometer, she says, then it still triggers me. I've got the feeling that I can't do without and I can't do with it. But just eyeballing it and then, nothing happens for months is also not an option. Like, it's also not a solution. And I can relate so much to this, because this used to be me, okay? It was me for several years actually, because I always justified to myself, I have to track, I have to use chronometer because otherwise I won't eat enough. And that was true. It was exactly like in your case, Mareike, that I knew from phases where I went without tracking that I would not eat enough. But why was that? It's not because I wasn't able to, it's because I was too afraid of eating, to just be on the safe side and just eat more than enough. For me, I never dared to eat more than the minimod calorie minimum, even though it's labeled as a minimum, right? And I also didn't dare to eat less than the minimum. Like, I knew I have to eat enough, but I was still too afraid to eat far more than the minimum. And so that's the problem. Why do you have this fear? I'm just kind of pretty much thinking that you have this exact same fear. You have this fear because you're afraid of weight gain, right? So, but the weight gain has to happen. If you want to, the weight gain has to happen so that the body takes over the control, that it is in balance, it's just in metabolic homeostasis, just your metabolism increases back up again and you don't gain weight anymore by eating without restriction. But in order for that to happen, and in order for you to maybe, like for some people it happens that you overshoot your set points because of all of the metabolic damage, let's say dysfunction, or like adaptation, that's the right word for it, that happened, then when your homeostasis, when your metabolism is healthy and on fire again, then you might overshoot weight, but your body decides what overshoot is. Your body decides what's too much weight and what not. And so the fear of the weight gain is actually what causes you to be afraid of eating enough. You are very, very well, let me tell you, you're very well able to eat enough. Now, that being said, it is far easier to do that when you don't eat all of the healthiest things, like everything is as whole food as possible. Of course it's going to be much more difficult to get in a lot of calories, right? Because they have so much fibers, so much water, like naturally already in comparison, relatively speaking, to more processed, even minimally processed, but also of course the ultra processed foods, and also then animal products. You know, not being vegan and not eating whole foods and even like emphasizing ultra processed foods was what helped me to easily err on the safe side and eat enough without tracking. So actually, to answer the first part of your question, where you asked me that if I tracked calories while I was gaining weight, the question is, when do you mean? So when I was still in quasi recovery, eating non-vegan foods were off limits for me, not an option. I was just like, there has to be another way. Well, I tried it for several years, for 8 years when I was vegan, to really just completely recover mentally. It didn't happen. I'm sorry to bring the bad news, but it didn't happen. And yes, I was gaining weight, specifically in that time that you see now, where I show you what I ate 1 year ago. I did gain weight. I did make sure I was eating more. And, you know, even if it was only the minimum of these minimal calorie guidelines, I did manage to gain weight. But the thing is, mentally, nothing changed. That's not recovery. I want to make it crystal clear. That's not recovery. It is quasi-recovery, because you still have to just restrict yourself to just these kind of foods, and like all of these rules. Real recovery is 0 rules, 0 restrictions, zero nothing, okay? And so then, yes, I did track. Unfortunately, I did still track there, gaining weight, but I would not recommend it, and I don't see it as a way to recover at all. So when I went into real recovery, which you're going to see through this year, because I'm taking you through what I ate, through all the process, the development, around the mid of the year, I stopped the tracking, and when I went really like into cold water with real recovery all in, I basically switched from whole foods to ultra processed foods, and nothing was off limits anymore. And that allowed me easily to not have to track and eat enough, because I was eating, you know, more than enough, which, well, you know, just which you have to do in order to recover. Your body needs more calories. I ate thousands and thousands of calories when I was in my extreme hunger phase, and like per day. And it was so easy suddenly when I introduced all of these off-limit foods that my eating disorder so desperately hated. And who would have thought, once you don't eat all of the foods your eating disorder loves, it actually becomes easy to eat far more than the minimum, far more than chronometer says you need. It's far too little, by the way. Any trackers give you far too little number, far too small number for anyone. Like, it's ridiculous. And so no, I did not track there, because also it wasn't necessary. I also was arguing all of these years that I have to track in order to eat enough. Well, no, you don't have to. If you're really, really honest to yourself, deeply in your heart, then you don't have to, if you were just eating the foods that make it easy for you to gain weight, which are very calorie dense, very, you know, like not all this water rich, fresh produce and whatever. No, if you're really honest to yourself, you know which foods to eat. You know that you could actually gain weight without tracking. And I know it hurts, but I will not be sorry for saying that, because that was exactly what I needed to hear back then. And so I hope this video helped. Please give this a thumbs up. If it did help, also ask me in the comments any questions you have regarding this question. I can go in far more detail. Just let me know, and I'll see you next video. Bye.